WeHo says no Halloween. Ashley Marie Preston gets backlash from Netflix. Dave has a few requirements and consciously is here to talk with us about his brand, his politics, family, and so much more. So grab your cocktails, get comfortable because you're watching The Danyol Jaye Show. What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Danyol Jaye. You are here live with the Danyol Jaye Show, and we have an amazing show for you today. Before we get into our Dish the Deep segment, I have to give a quick shout out to By Love Jones. By Love Jones is an apparel line. They have home essentials types of things. And if you've seen the promo, you saw me in the intro, the cutoff sweater that I have. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. That is from By Love Jones, okay? So they sent me a gift to just congratulate me on the show. And first of all, it came in this, I should have did an unboxing, but I didn't think about that. But it came with this beautiful card. You see James Baldwin, one of my favorite people, is on the card. And the card says, Sir Danyol, congrats on your new show. Keep the greatest and glow up coming. All the best, Jones. Baby, when I tell you, in this beautiful black box, this beautiful sexy black box with all of the By Love Jones tissue paper and all of the things, it just looked beautiful, came this wonderful this candle. I don't know if you guys can see it. Oh my God. And when I tell you, it's a double wick candle. It's a vegan, let me read it. It says, Love Notes #1, rum, citrus, savory herbs, vegan wax blend, handcrafted and poured with love. Baby, when I tell you this smells like a grown-ass man that needs to be in my bedroom butt-asshole naked, woo! I have to light this sparingly because, child, I would do things to myself. And I don't want to hurt myself in my 30s, but I just want to give a huge shout out to By Love Jones. If you are interested in buying any of their apparel, if you want to check out their shop, you can go find them on By Love Jones on Instagram. It's BYLOVEJONES on Instagram. Phenomenal, phenomenal brand. And I just want to send them so much love because they have shown me so much love and support. And I just appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's get into the Dish the Deets. Honey, okay, West Hollywood said, no, y'all not bringing your gay asses out here for Halloween, okay? We said no, goddammit. Last year they canceled their annual Halloween parade and festival. Obviously because of COVID, they are following suit with a second year of cancellation. They are saying, no, we are still in the middle of a pandemic. We are not going to risk people's lives because any one of y'all who live in Los Angeles or party in Los Angeles, if you've been to West Hollywood, if you've seen West Hollywood on any type of camera news, internet, whatever, on Cicely Tyson's internet, if you've seen her on YouTube, you know that it gets kind of wild. It gets kind of crazy, and it's a whole lot of fucking people. But we love that. We love that. Unfortunately, they are not going to be having the festival this year. Hopefully, they are looking forward to having another festival in 2022. I know that's going to be crazy because people have been missing it. It doesn't stop people from going to West Hollywood for Halloween. But baby, if you've ever gone to that fucking festival, you know it's Halloween hands down. It's LGBTQIA plus hands down, roots down. And we love it. I mean, you can see an angel, a devil, you can see Jason, you can see two people sucking each other off at the coffee shop. Like, it's just a wild time. It's a wild fucking time, but we love it, okay? We love it. We appreciate it, and we love it. Ashley Marie Preston. Many of you were here last week when I talked about the Netflix walkout and how Ashley Marie Preston was part of the organizing of that walkout. And well, she's getting a lot of backlash right now because some decade-old tweets have resurfaced. A lot of the tweets are pretty much problematic, saying that she's a hypocrite because she was speaking negatively and derogatively against Asians and Latins and all this stuff. And Miss Preston, honey, she did a whole video on her IG Live and she did not come to play. And basically what she said is it's going to take more than a decade's old tweets to move her. And at the end of the day, one of the things that I love that she says, those tweets don't prove that I'm a hypocrite. It proves that I understood the assignment. That when you cause hurt, you make amends for that. When you know that you have damaged someone, you do what you can to rectify that. And yes, the tweets were problematic, but again, they were from 2010, 2011. It's 2021. So if you want to use that as a reason why what she's saying in advocacy for trans folks, specifically Black trans folks, and this whole Netflix Dave Chappelle issue, y'all need to have several ass seats. You need to go get you a blanket and a pillow and sit your snappy headed ass down because it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. We have got to get to a place where we can allow people to grow, where we can allow people to change and evolve and be better. That's what the fuck we are here for. That's why we're here, so that we can know, so that we can learn things, so that we can be a better version of ourselves. And that's not to say that we don't all come with a past, because we do, but we're not defined by that past. And so I just want to say, Ashley Marie Preston, if you watch my show, if you are listening, honey, let me tell you, I stand with you. I think that you are an amazing woman. I think you are absolutely beautiful, intelligent, compassionate, and the work that you are doing needs to be done. And I'm glad that you are at the forefront of this movement, because she's just an incredible woman. And she is someone that has the experience of knowing what it's like on the other side. You know what I'm saying? So kudos to her. Hip hop legend Snoop Dogg's mom has passed away, Miss Beverly Tate. The cause of death has not been disclosed, but Snoop media put it out there this past Sunday. I know that Snoop asked for fans to pray for his mom earlier this year and then kept us updated when she was in the hospital. And he was like, she's opened her eyes. But unfortunately, whatever the cause was, she has lost her battle and she transitioned on Sunday. So from the Danyol Jaye Show here at Pyro Media Network, no, Snoop Dogg, we are praying for you, your family, all of your loved ones. And we sincerely hope that Miss Beverly Tate is in a much better space, in a much better place, resting without any pain. And an update on Dave Chappelle, since we're talking about Dave Chappelle's black ass. So he got a new documentary called Untitled, okay? And in this documentary, he talks about the backlash he got for The Closer on Netflix. And some of the things that he had to say are a little shocking. Number one, he wanted to thank Tad's ass, the CEO of Netflix, for having his fucking back. He also said that the trans community is trying to cancel him because film festivals will no longer film his documentary because of the trans folks. And here's what I have to say to that. First of all, let's be real. Those festivals, they're not showing your shit because they realize that your shit was fucking problematic. So don't come over here trying to blame the LGBTQIA plus community. Don't be trying to blame the trans community. Those festivals have minds of their fucking own, okay? And they don't want to show you shit because they know who their audiences are. They know how diverse their audiences are. So own the shit. It was problematic, and these are the repercussions. Ain't nobody trying to cancel your black ass. But he also had some demands, which I thought, nigga, really? So he said that he is completely willing to have a conversation with the trans employees that were fired, the ERG group from Netflix that staged the walkout. He's willing to meet with them. However, he says that in order to meet with him, he requires that every single person sitting with him has to watch his special from beginning to end. Now, on that, I agree. You can't come to the table with issues if you don't have a full context of what's being said and what to reference. So with that, I'm good. But again, I'm not trans, so hey, it might not fly for some other folks. The second request was that they have to meet at a time and place of his choosing. Now, this was some fucking male misogyny, patriarchy type shit if I ever seen it. And I'm just not here for it. First of all, how you drop a fucking bomb in the middle of a community, run your black ass off so that they can all scurry and fight amongst the fucking each other, and then you got demands on when and where you want to meet. Child, please, athletes. And then the third was that he said that he'll do it if the LGBTQIA community agrees that Hannah Gadsby isn't funny. Now, Hannah Gadsby is an Australian comedian who had things to say about her name being included in Ted Sarando's statement, and as far as trying to use her as to show that Netflix is diverse. And in defense of Dave Chappelle, she didn't appreciate that, and she spoke against that. And so this is his joking way of kind of getting back at her. And for that, I just think that's in poor taste at the end of the day. Dave, if you really wanted to sit down with motherfuckers, you would sit down with motherfuckers. You wouldn't go to your show where your supporters are, and make a mockery of it. You wouldn't be trying to have jokes. And you just said in the fucking closer that you were done with the LGBTQIA jokes. And here you are in this fucking Untitled documentary, nigga, with more LGBTQIA fodder to share. So I'm a little confused, bro. I'm a little fucking confused. Update on the Alec Baldwin's story. Last week, we talked about how he accidentally shot and killed a director of photography on the set of Rust, as well as wounded the other director of the film. So far, the gun that has been fired, investigation is still going on. Everybody's involved with the investigation. However, we have found that the gun that was used on set was also being used offset so that Alec Baldwin could have target practice. And so this is one of the reasons why people think there could have been a live round in it, because he was practicing with live rounds offset. However, the other piece of information that is a little strange is that this gun was kept with all the rest of the guns that were used on set, but the rounds that were the blank rounds that were supposed to be used for shooting, no pun intended, were kept by and near and mixed in with live rounds. As a prop manager, prop person, I don't know how the fuck this happens. And so for me, that's the person that I'm going after. I'm not saying anything. I'm not trying to throw nobody under the bus, but I'm just saying, like, who the fuck is checking these guns and who's not checking these guns? But as I said, I will keep you updated with that. And so far, that is the only update that we have in regards to how the gun got the live round in there and how this horrible accident has happened. So that is Dish the Deets. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, honey, because I have to touch up the makeup and the face. But when we come back, I will be sitting with educator, elevator extraordinaire, the one and only Conscious Lee. So you have a quick minute to go grab you some more snacks, refill your cocktail, and sit your wonderful, beautiful ass right there on the sofa and watch me right here on the Danyol Jaye Show. We'll be right back. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Remember, if you want to know anything about Pyro Media Network, you can go to pyromedianetwork.com and get all the information that you need on all of the shows that we have on our network. Or if you're interested in joining the network, you can reach out to Pyro Media, again, at pyromedianetwork.com. I am so very excited for our guest tonight because I have been a fan of this man probably for about as long as I've been on TikTok, which has been a little over a year, almost 2 years now. And he is an educator, elevator extraordinaire. He is a professor. He is a father. He is a husband. He is a debate guru. He is a teacher, an activist, an advocate. And he's just, if you're a sapiosexual, this nigga right here is like is going to be top of your list because his mind, the way that he speaks, is so profound, so phenomenal. And to be able to see a Black, cisgendered, heterosexual man talk about the topics that he talks about in the way that he does is just extraordinary. So without further ado, I want to introduce to some, present to others, the phenomenal, the Consciously. What's going on, sir?
What's going on?
You're here on my show. That's what's going on, and I'm so super excited. How's your day been?
It's been good. It's been real good.
I saw that you had a live just before this show, and it was getting a little heated. You was on with my homegirl, Hope Giselle. I had her on the show about a week or so ago.
Yeah.
What was the live? What was you talking about on the live?
Being frustrated with the way that the Black community, the way that my community has been able to copy and paste a whole bunch of right-wing conservative white supremacist notions of sexuality and gender, in this instance specifically gender, because sexuality and gender are the same thing, specifically when it comes to the trans issue. So I see that a lot of the arguments that people in my community is making through the guise of being pro-Black and Afrocentric is essentially arguments that come from white supremacists. And you know what I'm saying? Shit, I was really just, voicing my frustration on my Instagram live. And shit, I feel like it turned into a very great conversation and warmed my heart, honestly. So I'm feeling good now.
One of the things that I did this morning was I spent about 2 or 3 hours literally trolling the shit out of your TikTok page because I really wanted to get my study in. I wanted to make sure that I was asking questions that were pertinent that people want to know, and I also didn't want to necessarily ask things that everybody else asks you. But one of the things I came across the video that you did where you talked about where your love or where your awareness for politics came up. And you said it was in the 8th grade during the Bush administration when he had a proposition that would basically get rid of food stamps. And you were talking about how before that, your kid, politics, it's not your thing until something came up that directly affected you. My question to you is, do you feel that most people, and for the sake of this conversation, everybody watching, for the sake of this conversation, we're going to keep it to the Black community because that's our focus. He's Black, I'm Black, we Black, we're going to keep it to the Black community. Do you think that is the missing part as to why so many Black folks, heterosexual, biological, cisgender, whatever, Black folks have such a problem with something that is different because they haven't found or come across that thing that they're able to relate it to them personally?
Yes. And I would problematize that still because, what I like to say is people are lost in the sauce. And I think that a lot of us are lost in the sauce of sameness, or we always already want to focus on how we are the same or how we are similar to other people. And it causes us, I think, that damn near by nature to have a trade-off where we automatically looking to wage war with difference. So my philosophy is that we should just embrace and or always be trying to explore the ways in which we are different and not really focus on how we're the same. But I think what you asked me, and that's what we got in with, when I was talking with Hope on the live or whatnot, you feel me? And this dude named Jay from Philly.
Uh-oh. I don't know what happened, but it's live TV. We're going to try to get him back. Control room, if we can get him back, let's try to get him back. But welcome to live television, people. Things happen, technical difficulties. However, one of the things that I want to address about the question that I asked to Lee is one of the things that I find when I do my lives, there's a lot of stuff that comes across my DMs. There's a lot of comments that I get under the videos that I do. And one of the things that I've noticed a lot of the time is people are, especially when it comes to Black queer folks, when we're talking about the Black LGBTQIA plus experience, one of the things that constantly happens is that cisgender heterosexual folks will constantly speak their opinion about an experience they do not live. And I spend time on my live to really break down and explain and try to get people to understand it from their perspective, which is why a lot of times I will use racism as a conflation to what LGBTQIA folks are dealing with, specifically Black and brown LGBTQIA folks. But at the end of the day, I think that one of the issues is when people aren't able to connect it, when they aren't able to understand a particular struggle, if they're not able to understand a particular issue, they're just against it. I'll give you an example. One of the videos that I did on my Instagram had to do with this onslaught of comments from Black women who continued to tell me that they were offended by the word cisgender. And I didn't, it didn't make sense to me. So knowing me, being the person that I am, I'm sitting there going like, okay, let's have this conversation. So I go online and I'm talking about it. And this is my perspective. This is what the word means. This is where the term comes from. I'm not understanding why the vitriol towards this word. And a lot of times, everybody that commented about the word cisgender, every Black woman that told me why she couldn't stand it or why she didn't like it, she told me she didn't like it, but she couldn't tell me why. And there were only 3 women of all of the people that commented who were able to break it down for me so that I can understand. We got him back. Come on, live television. You back in here?
Yeah, all right, listen. I don't know what the hell happened, but I'm back. and listen, in this conversation about cisgender stuff, I feel like I know that a lot of people, especially in our community, talk about being pro-Black and talk about how white people always take credit for shit they didn't, you know what I'm saying, create. And I think that a lot of times when we start talking about things in terms of gender, people easily be like, that's some white shit. So in my experience, when I identify as being a straight cisgender Black man, it's like, you on that white shit. So in my mind, it's like, no, it's able to identify there are other people that do not identify with the gender they were assigned with their birth. That's the only thing that cisgender means. It means that I identify with the gender I was assigned at birth, and recognizing that sometimes they assign that shit wrong. You see what I'm saying? I think that a lot of people don't. I'm being real.
You can be as real as you want on this show. So
I'm being real. I think that, and I'll be simple with it too. A lot of people get the validation of their identity by being able to prove they can dominate somebody else and or exclude somebody else. So what I think when it comes to being cisgender, whether I'm talking about cisgender men and cisgender women, a lot of us hold on to being like, but I'm a real XYZ because we've been pathologized and discriminated for our race or for this or that. So a lot of times it'd be like, but I'm a real man. I'm a real woman. And it's just like, that's what you hold on to be able to be able to affirm your sense of self. And I think that that's what I get into be talking about being lost in the sauce.
And that sauce is very thick. And I want to go back to the question I asked you before we lost you, which is how I got to the cisgender topic, is in my lives that I do, I always conflate racism with the oppressiveness that LGBTQIA folks experience, specifically within Black and brown communities, right? Because I feel like as a whole Black community, we can all understand racism. We know what that is. We've lived it. It's part of our everyday. And in order to get people to understand that the same jargon, the same rhetoric, the same Jim Crow tactics that are used against Black people are the exact same tactics that cishet Black folks use against Black LGBTQIA plus folks. So going back to the question, why do you think it is so hard? And I'm changing the question actually, but why do you think that it is so hard for Black cishet folks, the majority of them, to understand on some foundational level what Black queer folks deal with?
It's great question.
Thanks. To answer my interviewing.
Yeah. To answer it, what I would say is it's a lot to unpackage when it comes to the gender politics of our community. Mm-hmm. And I think that specifically when we talk about like somebody like Dave Chappelle, and we got talk about the particular narrative about white people wanting him to put on a dress, and him saying that he didn't want to put on a dress and he wanted to stand up for his masculinity, right? What I'm trying to unpackage here is that a lot of times when it comes to sexuality and gender in our community, we've wrapped it up in white supremacy. That says that the presence of homosexuality or the presence of some non-straight shit is trying to emasculate me and trying to make it where I can't make more black babies, and therefore it's bad for the black community. I think that's the hard part that a lot of people in our community have with having compassion and having heart and having understanding with people in our community that are not straight or not cis, because we see it as an inherent attack on the community of thinking like, I know a lot of people in the conscious community talk about like butt breaking, or they'll talk about, you feel me, the white man trying to emasculate us, or trying to, you know what I'm saying, or you feel me, the Woody Lynch letter, and you know what I'm saying. So I think that because it's
I really wish that with you mentioning butt breaking, I really wish that we could have like a full-on conversation about how butt breaking is not the introduction of homosexuality into the black community.
It's assault. Like it's like you conflating assault. It's like yeah. And too, I recognize too, people might be thinking like, y'all niggas is laughing, talking about. It's like it's not that. It's just that it's almost you have to laugh so you don't cry to humorize how people are literally trying to say the reason why you are what you are is because our ancestors got raped by the white man hundreds of years ago, and just like that is wild. And it's just so you just laugh at the shit, but it's just like, man.
But I will say in the black community specifically, I think that the ideal that butt breaking is the introduction of homosexuality into the black community is one of the reasons why a lot of black people think or feel that if you're gay, then you must have gotten molested or raped.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, the connection there is so strong. You know, but there are hundreds of thousands of millions of people who are queer who have never been touched, who had successful middle class, high class, 2-parent households. Like all of the jargon that is used to say this is why you are who you are, at the end of the day gets debunked. You know,
that's why I call it pathology.
Say that again.
I said that's why I call it pathology. It's like it's pathological. It's debunked, but it's been so normalized, even though it's abnormal in terms of truth and in terms of reality, that it's really hard to tell somebody otherwise. So literally in the live I was just having, all you see in the comment section, I'm talking to a black unapologetic trans woman. Hope. Motherfuckers in the comment section, but you choose to be trans and X, Y, and Z. I'm talking to a black man that's talking about, you feel me, being from Philly and having a record. And serving 11 years in jail for shooting people and serving drugs and shit, but really having a real transparent conversation about trans identities. You feel me? We having a real grown-up conversation. People in the comment section though is really though still, you know what I'm saying, being stuck on launching these different dog whistles. And for y'all that don't recognize what dog whistles is, when Donald Trump into this what Hope made me realize when she was talking. When Donald Trump was telling people to stand up and stand by, there was a dog whistle. All of us people of color recognize there was a dog whistle, him signaling to the other racists, y'all watch this shit and don't go nowhere. I would argue that Dave Chappelle used a lot of transphobic dog whistles in the special. When Dave Chappelle said, so are you talking about multiple days or one day? That was a heteronormative dog whistle that let people know that he think this shit don't make sense either. When he talking about beyond pussy and beyond beef and all that shit, that was a heteronormative whistle to be able to say they ain't even really got the genitals they're supposed to have. Me knowing what I know is like, yeah, that's textbook transphobia. You talking about trans people's genitals, and that's textbook transphobia. You trying to trivialize these pronouns, and that's textbook transphobia. You misgendering this woman in her death. So now we have 3 textbook examples of transphobia, and you saying, and you know what, they ain't even count turf. See what turf. Now we got 4 specific examples of you saying some transphobic shit in the same sentence of saying you stand with trans people or trans women. So you say that trans women are women in the same sentence of saying that you are a feminist and that you are trans radical.
You know, one of the things that I said, I did a live earlier today on Instagram, and one of the things that I said, and that I continue to say on most of my platforms, because a lot of people want to say, you know, Dave is speaking his truth. You know, this is his truth. He has the right to speak his truth. And what I said on my live today that I've repeated elsewhere is that you cannot tell a truth you've never lived. If you've not had the experience, if you've not lived the experience, what you're telling is the truth of your opinion about a truth you don't agree with. And that is what the closer is in its totality. It's Dave Chappelle's opinion about his observation of an experience he has never lived. And to throw a bomb in the middle of a community with this special and then walk away from the conversation and say, oh, well, I'm helping you guys have a conversation. How? You don't know what the fuck the conversation is. And to allude to this fact that Black queer people are not aware that white queer people have stolen narratives from us and have taken over certain narratives.
It's crazy. It's wild.
We live it. We know. But I do want to get into some of the questions that we have in the comments. One of them comes from Dolores Simmons. They said, what are your philosophies about how our children are taught inside the home, knowing what they are actually taught in these schools?
My philosophy is that we should teach our kids knowledge of self. I got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I need to be spending more time and teaching my daughter stuff, but definitely with teaching her the knowledge of self. So right now she's only 5, so really teaching her about her personality and thinking in terms of what is your personality, like what make you laugh, what make you cry. You feel me? What motivates you? What make you want to go play? What make you want to, you know what I'm saying, sit down and really thinking about like how do you know yourself? Because what I learned from Malcolm X and all of the people like that is that when we allow for the oppressor to teach us our racial identity, it's going to be taught in a way that we always already think of ourselves as being inferior. So I want to make sure, you feel me, my daughter is all conscious of not only being a young Black girl, but also, you feel me, recognizing what colorism is. You feel me? And then and knowing that, you know what I'm saying, that she's going to be perceived as being light-skinned. You feel me? And, you know what I'm saying, recognizing that we have done a lot of things in this country. You feel me? And recognizing we have a history before slavery and really teaching my daughter knowledge of self. You feel me? Teaching my son knowledge of self. And, you know what I'm saying, starting in the home and being able to teach our kids really who they are.
Lee, as an instructor, what age group do you teach?
Last year I taught high school for the first time. I taught 9th and 10th grade. It was a hell of an experience. I seen that I wasn't, you feel me, cut out, you know what I'm saying, for the Lord's working that way. Most of my experience though is teaching college students. I'm a coordinator of a debate team. And I teach kids from, I guess, 18 to 25.
Well, not just a debate team. This is a world-renowned, award-winning, like one of the top debate teams in the country.
We got we got a national championship under our belt. We got a national championship under our belt, and we, you know what I'm saying, we've had some wonderful, great debaters come through. You know what I'm saying, our program, and to be able to represent for the university and be able to win a whole bunch of ballots and bust a whole bunch of asses in that debate room. So definitely, you know.
I want to read Miriam Maiden's comment. They said, I thought that Dave Chappelle was really talking about white trans people and how they behave and how they have adapted the Black people's in terms of racism and trying to fight that cause. To that, Miriam, I have to say this. You cannot advocate for a community that you do not recognize and acknowledge. And that was one of my issues with the closer. I understand Dave Chappelle's target is always going to be whiteness, white supremacy, and all of the systematic oppressive structures that white folks throughout history have created and benefited from. However, when you talk about LGBTQIA communities and you talk about it in a way where the hidden tongue-in-cheek connotation is that LGBTQIA plus experiences is a white construct because you do not fully acknowledge the Black queer side of things. You don't fully recognize them. You don't have a conversation. You don't include them in the conversation. What happens is that Black and brown portion of that experience gets erased. And we mentally, psychologically, emotionally will then connect anything that's gay, anything that's trans, anything that's whatever to the whiteness. So his lack of acknowledgement of Black queer people outside of the very dismissive statement of, I don't have a problem with Black gay folks, but these white gay folks, it's like, you don't have a problem with Black gayness because to you, Black gayness and Black queerness is an anomaly. It's not the norm. And if white people didn't exist, queerness wouldn't exist in Black communities. That's the line. That's the undertone.
And where I come in at it is that in terms of you specifically saying something about an erasure, he said specifically he evoked Stonewall. So with me knowing what I know, it's like, hey, listen, Stonewall is a revolution, I don't even know what I'm saying, a movement that birthed the Pride movement. You feel me? But I also know that it started with a Black trans woman and a Black, you know what I'm saying, in a Latino trans woman, you feel me, fighting back to police brutality. What I also know in terms of an erasure is that when the Pride movement first started having their parades, they excluded the Black trans woman from being on that motherfucker because they felt like she was doing too much. It felt like she was too radical. It felt like she was bringing, you know what I'm saying, a bad rap and shit. There was an erasure, an intentional erasure that happened. When Dave Chappelle say he missed the old Stonewall gays in the same conversation of talking about trans women, the erasure is already done. He doing it. I ain't even got to be a philosopher. He did it. And if you was able to watch the closer and you not able to understand who Marsha P. Johnson is specifically in a conversation of a Black man, Black cisgender straight man talking about Stonewall, it's a crime that's been committed. Especially if you can be like, I think he was talking about what you call. My last thing I say on this specific question is, think about the 4 criticisms I had for Dave Chappelle being transphobic. Those criticisms do not specifically hit at white people. When he calls himself a TERF, the burden is on you to tell me how he identifies specifically white trans people. That criticism seemed like it landed on all trans people. When he say they or multiple days, that sounds like everybody that has the pronoun of they. And let me tell you something. I also have preferred pronoun of they. He, him, and they is my preferred pronouns. And I'm straight and I'm cis. You feel me? The third thing, you feel me, is the misgendering. When he misgendered, you feel me, his friend, they call his friend, that wasn't unique to her being white. That was unique to her being trans. So even if you want to say his criticism was towards trans people, and he say it's the way that white oppressed people, they can be oppressed until they got to, you know what I'm saying, call the police. That's cool. I can agree with that statement. But that don't mean you erase Marsha P. Johnson and Black trans people, especially knowing that Black trans women have one of the lowest life expectancies in the world, in our country specifically anyway.
There's a lot to unpack, and we're going to unpack more of that. We have to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we will continue this conversation with the phenomenal Conscious Lee. So go get your snacks, refill up on your cocktail, and come back because you're watching The Danyol Jaye Show. What is going on, everybody? We are back, and we are back with our guest, the Conscious Lee, Mr. Research Over Research himself, to continue this conversation. So let's get him back on the live so that we can continue with what we got to talk about. So, Lee, one of the things that I did in my research this morning, in 2.5, 3 hours of trolling your page or scrolling your page, whatever you want to call it, you talk about a lot of different issues, and you address a lot of different people that bring up certain things, not just LGBTQIA plus issues, which I want to say personally, I'm very grateful for you in that space, because I do believe that sometimes it takes a cis-het individual who gets it and who is willing to unlearn, certain behaviors and learn other things to advocate and be an ally. So thank you for that. But you also deal with just Black ignorance overall. And there was one particular video that caught my interest about you being at the East Coast Shore and talking about the ancestors that are at the bottom of said ocean. And a young man, I think his name was Joe. Joe had a lot to say to you about how if they're at the bottom of the ocean, they cannot be your ancestors because they are dead and can no longer have children. My question to you is this. When you come across Black ignorance, and I say Black ignorance again because we are focusing on the Black community tonight, what are the top 2 subjects that just grinds your gears the most when you have to address them?
I'll say the top one definitely is like dealing with white supremacist sympathizers, anti-Black apologists, bootlickers, shucking and jivers, pygmies. Those is definitely my top. Like I can't stand. I like. Okay, I got something for your ass. And then second, you feel me, is the individuals that people call hoteps, but I want to give respect to, you feel me, ancestor, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I know that peace and medicine and so on, you feel me? But that type of ideology in terms of pro-Blackness, but fuck women and fuck gays and fuck trans, like those 2, my top things that I can't stand. I see those 2 things, those 2 positions as being the most parasitic to the Black community that comes from people inside the Black community.
What is your most enjoyable topic to tackle?
My most enjoyable topic to tackle is race, because that's what I got my most expertise in. That's what I've been trained in. I like to brag on this because I spent a lot of hard, you know what I'm saying, work in doing it. But I'm in the top 20 Hall of Fame of college policy debate from 2010 to 2020 because of what I was able to do from the racial, I'm saying, from the perspective and lens of race. You feel me? So that's a topic that really just made me go like, oh, okay, we're going somewhere. But I feel like outside of that is politics. But it's because I know how to inscribe Blackness in a Black community and race in any situation, especially politics. So I feel like, you said about that, my ears gonna perk up.
Now, outside of being, in educator elevator and outside of promoting research over research, you are also a father, you are also a husband. And one of the things that I have noticed, again, in my 2.5 hours of scrolling, is what I would perceive as the protection of your family unit. We don't see your kids a lot on your page, and we don't see your wife a lot, if at all, on your page. But I do know that you have spoken about the support and just the phenomenal woman that your wife has been. What is the reasoning behind not kind of sharing them as much as other brands or other people would on their social media?
My wife don't like the public eye that much. And me and my wife are very conscious of public perception in terms of her being a Black biracial woman and me being so pro-Black. And if I'm being completely transparent, it's just a lot to deal with in the comment section and people coming for, and you feel me, hit a little different when it's like yours, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's just like I would post my wife more, but she don't like being post like that. And then I see when I even like post her and I convince her, you know what I'm saying, post, so I post her without a permission type shit. I see why she don't like it. You feel me? And two, before I posted her and we seen the backlash type shit, we already knew it would come. But also too, she's the person that I feel like we 2 different type of Sagittariuses. I'm a Sagittarius that love the public light and love the, you know what I'm saying, social butterfly, and see more of a Sagittarius that like to talk shit in the background and just be like, ha ha ha. You know what I'm saying? I see that shit over there, but I'm over here minding my business. But I see that though. You feel me? That's the type of, you know what I'm saying, our personalities and how it work. We 9 days apart. We've been together since, you know what I'm saying, we were 17. You feel me? Of course, we're in high school and first got into college. We had a little off and on type shit, but for the most part, though, we've been together since we were 17. We 30. We got 2 kids, and I feel like she get my vision. She get what I'm trying to do. She get what, you know what I'm saying. She support what I'm trying to do. She support how I do it, and shit is just like, you know, we
Now,
already
is she the one holding the camera when you be on top of tabletops and you up here dancing and twerking and doing all these 90s video remakes? Is she the one behind the camera? And is she laughing? Because, baby, when I see
sometimes she laugh. Hey, sometimes she laugh. You feel me? But my wife was raised by black women. You feel me? My wife was raised by an old black woman from Mississippi. So sometimes she be like, "Hey, nigga, you doing a lot of waist thrusting on the internet now. Now you're gonna be mad if I start posting thirst traps in my in my shit. So you better tone it down. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? You know how black women do. So you feel me? So you know, real, you know what I mean? Sometimes she'll find it funny, and sometimes she'll be like, "Hey, nigga,
you're doing a little much." Okay.
So you know, it just depends on the video.
That's for me. I want to ask you, how do you define blackness? One of the things, especially in my experience on social media, you know, you bring up the fact that your wife is biracial, as am I. I'm black and Mexican. I'm a double minority, triple minority if you add the fact that I'm queer, quadruple minority if you add the fact that I'm a man. But I know that for me, looking the way that I do, being so vocal about black issues, I get a lot of flack from the black community. You know, I'm not black. I'm not black enough. And if you said what?
Yeah, my wife does too.
You're right. And I also feel like if it was the opposite, like if I had a Mexican experience growing up and I was advocating for Mexicanness, you know, I mean, for, you know, Mexican issues and experiences, then I'd get told, oh, well, you know, you want to forget you have black. Like, it's this double-edged sword. But I always love to ask, like, how do you define blackness? And why do you think that the idea of that, the definition of that, why do you think that is still in 2021 such a vitriolic conversation amongst the black community?
Now, I remind you, I'm in debate mode a little bit. I'm getting ready for a debate tournament. I've been reading this shit.
This is good practice then.
Yeah. So listen though. When you read some of the first critical race theory shits, or you read some, like, you feel me, some of the first, like, black feminism, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, first black feminism from the 90s. When we talk about, like, a whole bunch of historical landmark court cases, the very question of how do we define blackness, and outside of how we define blackness, if we say something is black, how do we justify discriminating against it, has always been something that's been hard to define and hard to acknowledge. You feel me? And I think that that's what makes it so much static around being able to say who black and who not black. The one drop rule, brown paper bag test. Is you identified as white? Can you pass as something else? Are you racially ambiguous? We got all these different ways of how I feel like race becomes complex and in some instances trivialized. For me specifically, because I'm a philosopher, I would say that I define blackness first as being the infinite possibility of something else. You feel me? In my mind, anti-blackness is the opposition to possibility, and blackness is the possibility, you know what I'm saying, to what can be. In terms of layman's terms, though, you feel me? I see black, like being black is, you know what I'm saying, having a visible but visceral relationship to blackness and black people. You feel me? And I think that, you know what I'm saying, we can explore what that means, but I think that, you know what I mean, kind of like I recognize that my wife know now in different situations that, like, you know what I'm saying, like, even though she grew up saying nigga, she grew up, you feel me, you know what I'm saying, being raised by black people, she know in certain contexts people don't know she black. You feel me? So, you know what I'm saying, it's like saying nigga or wearing some box braids, some shit like that, right? She recognizes, you feel me, you feel, like, you know what I'm saying, how she on people gonna look at her crazy as hell. Right. But you feel me, she's black in terms of shit, her birth certificate say black, you feel me, all she knows is her black family, You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So how I see it is in terms of proximity, but that proximity being about like how you identify, but also how you identify yourself. And that's really simplicity how I see it. How you identify yourself and how you identify about the world. And recognizing that those two things matter. Not saying that just because you can pass as being something else that's not black, it means you're not black, but recognizing that it does matter.
You know, it's funny because when I first got the onslaught of people who were telling me I wasn't black or that I was, you know, I could pass as this and I was this, I went to my birth certificate to see what the hell they put on my birth certificate. And my birth certificate doesn't have a race. And I found that to be so very interesting. And I was like, well, is this the original? Is this a copy? Like, what is this? And it just doesn't. It doesn't have.
Is your mom black?
My mother is Mexican. Yeah. She was raised in Los Angeles. Both her parents are Mexican, but she didn't know her birth father. And so the man that raised her was my grandfather, who was a 6'1", 300-pound black veteran. You know, that was the only father that she knew. And then my father, my biological father, is, you know, a high yellow black man from Spring Ridge, Louisiana. So here I came to be.
And I think that's the same thing that make it where I don't want to tell too much of my wife's story because it's her story to tell, not mine.
Right.
But my wife's mom is black. You feel me? And recognizing that she came out of a black wound, literally, you feel me? It's like, you know what I mean? Like that's, you know what I mean? Like that's obviously, you know what I'm saying, play into, you know, her, you know what I mean, her whole experience and how she's lived the world and how she's been identified and how she's been positioned and how resources she got, how much, you know what I'm saying, opportunity she got, how much access she got, and it's like, you know what I mean? So, you know, but recognizing too, light skin privilege and, you know what I'm saying, in terms of colorism is a thing, you feel me? And you know what I'm saying, she's conscious of it, you feel me? So, you know, but in terms of answering that question, I hope I answered it in terms of being like how you identify, how does the word identify you, and philosophically, blackness in terms of the infinite possibility of something. It's the infinite possibility, and anti-blackness being the opposition of that possibility.
Well, Lee, I definitely want to say thank you so much for being on the show. I have to have you back on the show because we have so much more that we need to discuss. So we need to make it happen. But I want to really quickly tell people how they can find you, where they can find you, and what you have coming up for people in the pipeline.
Oh, right there. Hey, George Lee, aka Consciously. Don't forget the Lee. You can find me at georgeleespeaks.com. That's the website right there. I do workshops, I do facilitations, I do curriculum design, curriculum development. I got 2 master's degrees. Holla at your boy. You can find me at Consciously on all social media platforms. And the reason why I talked about those 2 degrees is because I think that it shows you where my expertise and the skills and how I've been able to hone into them, and that I've been, you know what I'm saying, like I've developed them through, you feel me, this process of getting these degrees in terms of adult and higher education and human relations. That's what my expertise is in. That's why I have my master's degrees in. But hey, georgeleespeaks.com right there. You find everything you want to know about me and all that right there. You feel me right there, you know, right there.
Well, thank you so much, Lee. We're going to put you in our virtual green space, and we are going to get ready for Hey Puddin'. So tonight's Hey Puddin' is a little special because it comes from someone who had a few things to say to me on one of my videos on IG. So I'll let you read it for yourself. Awesome sauce. So this is a comment that was left on one of my videos that I did specifically. I believe it was the Dave Chappelle video. And this individual had a lot to say in the comment section, but this particular comment kind of like struck me. You are not black. Stop speaking for us. And I said, how am I not black? Because on my page, I say that I'm black and Mexican. You can read it. I've talked about my ancestry. I talked about my parents and all that. And then this person came with the next set of comments. They said, I see your bio. I'm not confused. I mean, politically, many paler toned people of Latino descent have that luxury. You can identify as white on paper. Hey, Puddin'. So let me address you in this way, and those who think like you. The fact that you allude to me being passing means that you have to acknowledge that I am Black, because I can't be passing if I'm not something that is not what I'm passing as. As it pertains to my Latin heritage, me being a Mexicano, the system in which you reference is a system that is engraved in oppression. It is a system that is engraved in racism, and it was a system that was meant to separate and segregate people of color, both Black and brown. And so the reason why on paper, in our political systems and in our government and in all of our applications, the reason why Latino people who identify as Latin then are identified as a white race was really to oppress and to decrease the numbers and the privilege that were going to Black folks. And that is a system I have never participated in. I have never marked white on any single solitary piece of paper that I've ever filled out for anything. Furthermore, I think it's disgusting that as a Black community, we can still be dealing with inbred colorism, that the light versus dark is still a topic, that because my hue is not darker, that I'm not Black enough, or that I'm not Black at all, that I don't experience racism because I don't look to you phenotypically what I should look like. But I want to assure you, baby, and everybody like you, I'm as blackety fucking Black as I'm ever going to get. And I'm as Black as I need to fucking be in every aspect of my life. And whether you see it, whether you hear it, whether you feel it, whether you agree, I'm still gonna be Black and Mexican at the same fucking time. I hope that you be great in your lavender, boo-boo, and I hope that you can continue in your life spreading the joy of ignorance that you have, because you look like a goddamn fool with that bullshit that you posted on my shit. Outside of that, that's our Hey Puddin' today. If you have an issue, a question, or if you just have a topic that you want me to discuss, if you want my opinion on something and you want to be a part of the Hey Puddin' segment, all you have to do is send us an email at heypuddingcrew@gmail.com. That's heypudding, no G, crew at gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for watching our show tonight. I want to again thank The Conscious Lee. He is a phenomenal individual. Make sure you're following him on all social media at The Conscious Lee. Make sure you're tuning in next week, honey, because we have another amazing show next week, because we're here live every Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube. All you have to do is subscribe, click the little ring-a-ding-a-dingy, honey, and then you will get updates on when we're live every Thursday, and you can be part of the conversation. Until next time, I want to leave you with this. You are marvelous. You are magnificent. You are incredible, phenomenal, awesome, and amazing in every single solitary way. But if you decide that you want to be malicious, mean, and cruel, do that shit in a room by yourself. And don't you send no fucking invites. Until next time, I'm your host, Danyol Jaye, and this is The Danyol Jaye Show.